Labor has been notably timid with any reform. Is it going to be 3 more years of the same mediocrity?
I do believe there is a lot more that we've done. I really do. And if one of the interesting things with media now is people only know the bits you've done that they oppose. There's been the front page of many papers and late-night TV programs saying our agenda on these issues is horrifically radical and a danger to the country, and then we'll have other people saying you're not doing anything. And that is a communication problem that we have to be able to deal with. The issue of housing, the key to housing is supply. It really is getting houses built. You go to any cafe at the moment on a Saturday morning and you will see queues that look like nightclub queues at 11 a.m. And they're not. They're people wanting a rental property. And they want to be there for that half hour. And we simply do not have enough housing stock. And that's why I do have a frustration that the programs we had that would build more housing stock started years later than they were meant to. Because if the argument was, oh, well, the numbers aren't big enough, well, until those programs start, they don't start. The other thing I'd say is some people say, oh, when you've got a mandate like this, you have to use that power to do a whole lot of things you didn't tell people about before the election. And I think that's a real trap for governments after an election like this.
Well, let me ask you about that because, you do have an enormous mandate. You changed policies in the last government, including the stage 3 tax cuts. So it's not like you haven't got a precedent for it. So presumably you might think about some of these things.
I think if we were to take that as licence to just do whatever we want, my first term, I was elected in 2004. I saw John Howard have a huge victory. Think, oh, how do I use this capital? I'm not going to waste it like he thought Malcolm Fraser had, and wandered into the parliament.
Well, he had control of the Senate as well. If I can just bring you in...
arguably, he had Barnaby. It wasn't quite control.
The really interesting thing about Anthony Albanese is he's got a pretty clear view about how he will proceed. And it's a mixture of delivering on the agenda that he went to the election on, running a stable, united, disciplined government. So I think his instinct, despite this enormous victory, and he'll have to give some cognizance to that, but I think his instinct will be not to experiment, not to introduce more radical or progressive policies. Because essentially, the lesson of this election, while a lot of people were dissatisfied with the government, the lesson of the election at the end of the day is, while people might have been grumpy, while people might have been upset, they voted for Labor. And they voted for Labor because of essentially Albanese's approach of governing from the Labor centre. So I think he'll be careful. I think he'll be cautious. He will introduce more policies that appeal to the middle class. He will aim to further expand the Labor base and further improve the Labor primary vote. But he won't go radical and he won't experiment, and he'll be cautious about how progressive he gets.
If you think about the big winners, and we've mainly talked about the Labor Party delivering a kind of very, a laundry list of cost of living initiatives that boost things like Medicare, boost things like mental health, TAFE and so forth. But you've also had pretty good results for the independents as well, those Teal independents, which again, so you have this reinforcement of the centre. Australia is not a highly ideological country. We are quite pragmatic. We want our politics to be centrist. And for all of the reasons that the coalition failed, part of it was like, where are you taking us? You're taking us to a fringe where we're going to have nuclear reactors and no welcome to country, but you haven't talked about education, you haven't talked about the bread and butter issues that really matter across the country.
Okay.